This program contains adult content.
Is there a God?
Big atheist.
Really?
What, am I an idiot? Come on.
That yes, it would be nice if you could throw your sins and your responsibilities on someone else. But it's not true.
It looks like far-left lunacy.
I don't believe that it's true that religion is moral or ethical.
You don't need to follow anybody!
It's not human intelligence!
If someone doesn't value logical consistency, what logical argument are you going to give them that will demonstrate that they should?
Welcome to the Godless Rebelution. Today is Tuesday, January 15th. I am Dan Ellis.
I'm Matt Mitchell.
I'm Ryan Duffy.
Oh, the whole crew's here.
Yeah.
No.
I'm feeling better this week.
Are you?
Yeah.
You sound better. You don't sound as congested.
Yeah, because my kid's feeling better.
Yeah.
So's my wife. So everything's good at home.
How long have you had that mustache?
Oh, I just came in last week. I got some Rogaine to spread it on the lips, and
I like it.
I
like
figured
how it curls up at the ends.
I loved yours so much. I just figured, wow.
Yeah. How long did Matt say that he's been growing his beard last
week? Wait, what? Who?
No, so a couple of weeks ago, so Matt is not in studio with us again this evening because he is still ill.
I could have confused them all night.
Hope he gets feeling better.
I think you're solidly Minnesotan.
He's been sick for a while. So Mr. Kevin Neumann is sitting in this evening.
Hi there.
How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you?
Super awesome. Working for free is fucking cool as fuck.
Yeah, you know, I'm similarly not getting paid by the government, so I do feel your pain. I get it. That's not a smart ass remark.
It's been pretty awesome. But so when Matt was here a couple of weeks ago, he said he's been growing his beard for
longer than you. Like, he's been growing his
while?
since you had yours shaved off, and yours is already longer than his.
Yeah, I can't remember how long he said. I think he said like a year or something.
But like my mustache, I haven't trimmed my mustache in a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just stopped growing.
Oh, yeah? Dude, mine just continues to grow. It just, I can't not trim it because it just goes and goes and goes.
I mean, granted, when I comb it straight down, it does go over my bottom lip.
Yeah.
Straight up walrus, but...
There's much in the news this week.
Oh, yeah.
The thing that, of course, that is concerning me most is the continuing shutdown of parts of our government.
It's not Trump's relationship with Russia?
Well, that was just... We've been dealing with that for a couple of years now. I mean, but of course, the FBI there was a leaked bit of information from the FBI that they had apparently started an investigation into Mr. Trump.
Yeah.
Because they felt that perhaps he was an asset of the Russian government, either wittingly or unwittingly.
Yeah.
That with as fucking stupid as he is, I don't know which it would be necessarily.
Well,
I mean, even if he was like for sure being paid or had, there was compromat on him, and so he was a puppet of the Russian government, like, he would still be unwitting either way. Because he's just that fucking stupid.
He is absolutely at times an unwitting asset. Like, he can't not be. He's absolutely acting in a way which makes the Russians seem come from a position of power.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, he just seems to love Vladimir Putin, and he's doing everything that he can to prop up Russia as this great stabilizing force in the world, and they're just not. I mean,
he wants
his knee-jerk thing about pulling out of Syria that benefits nobody but
Russia,
that Putin and Bashar al-Assad.
Yeah.
That, I mean, there's no good. I mean, that's why he has people resigning their positions in his administration, because he just decides, well, Vladdy called me the other day and really said that, he wants Syria to himself. He doesn't want us involved there anymore. So
I guess what would we actually do in Syria, though? Like, not what we're doing, but what do the people want? Is just cutting and running. I know it's not a great idea. I know that people will get hurt, but people are getting hurt now.
Well, and that's the weird thing about it too, right? Is because he announced that ISIS has been defeated, So we'll leave Russia to defeat ISIS.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I think he actually said like Russia and Erdogan and Egypt to help take care of it. It's like, well, if they're defeated, there's no one needs to take care of anything.
Yeah.
But the truth is they're not fucking defeated.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, it made sense theoretically to get this entangled in the Middle East. There were smart people, like really smart people, well read, just smart people got us involved in a place where, for the reasons they got us involved, are no longer applicable or no longer necessary. I see no reason to stay any place that isn't strategic for us any longer. And Syria is not a strategic necessity.
I guess I can see your point in part of that. I think a big portion of that is that a lot of the Syrian people would like us to remain because we are a stabilizing force there, and
Russia will be as well.
And are keeping people. Russia's on the side of Assad, who wants to just wipe out all kinds of people. Who, Assad has no qualms about using chemical weapons on his own people.
Okay, so the thing is, I agree. Assad is shit. He's got to be up there among the people of our generation who's killed the most people willfully. That's super bad. Turns out nobody gives a shit. So we're not going to kill him.
Other than the people that he's killing and murdering.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He's only killing them because we're threatening to kill him. So we don't follow through on that.
I don't think that logic follows. Like, I don't think that if he's
not in a place of threat, he's not just going to kill people. He's killing his enemies. He's killing the family of his enemies. He's making strategic moves to maintain power in his position.
That seems weird to me. Like that's almost like, well, if he wants to be a bully, we should just let him be a bully.
No, I say we should kill him. I say if we're in Syria and we care about those people, I care about those people.
Yeah.
I've served in the military, and I would rather serve in a liberation army that wipes out Assad. But that's not the world we live in. The world we live in is we don't care enough to kill him. So why don't we stop killing people there?
Money. No.
If we're not there, we're not losing ours. We're not losing theirs. They can do whatever they feel like they need to do. If they're not happy with their government, nobody knows the right answer. We clearly haven't made the right answer in previous engagements. Who the fuck thinks they're going to make the right answer this time? I think get the fuck out and then provide humanitarian effort whenever we can to soothe their conscience.
Well, do we think that anybody in the current administration is going to provide any humanitarian aid there, though?
No.
I mean, even if we're not there militarily,
guess what? You know
are
what?
we going to be providing that kind of aid for the people there? We're not going to be taking in refugees, that's for sure.
We can get the EU all riled up, and they can help out.
Have you been paying attention to what's been going on over there today?
Apparently, there's going to be a Brexit with no fucking plan for a Brexit now.
Yeah, that's a weird one, but it's maybe not going to go through.
I think
somebody had floated the idea that it's not unreasonable to have another public referendum to undo the first one.
Well, and that's just it. Like, it's a choice, right? Like, they don't have to leave. They don't have to actually go through a Brexit. They don't have to do it.
Yeah.
It's that the people voted for it, but now most people are like, well, that was a pretty terrible thing. Maybe we should just not.
It's kind of like they do here in Utah, where the people vote on something and they do the exact opposite.
But this is not everybody's having the same argument, though. So you're speaking as somebody that's not hearing your side of the story, and somebody's doing the same to you.
Yeah.
It's just because, so for the state of Utah, just because they allowed for public funding to have an option where the people speak their mind, they don't have a law on the books that says that's binding. There is no law in the book that says the people get to run the county or the state, because that would be dumb. The people as a whole ought not.
Well, that's why you elect representatives.
Exactly.
Right.
So Utahns Utahns, for as shitty as I suspect sometimes their motives are, they play by the rules.
Yeah, they are very much rule abiders. Yeah,
they are the kind of people who can maneuver drinking Coca-Cola instead of coffee and have it make sense to them. Okay, they're that good, but they follow the fucking rules.
Yeah, it's true. But that's just it. Like the problem there is that we have a large demographic of people who belong to one particular religion who then decide that, well, that, my religious leaders are telling me something different than what I'm hearing from everybody else. And they're my religious leaders. They're not my coworkers, friends, family members.
Okay.
They're the people who are determining my ultimate eternal destiny versus this, doormat
right
before the afterlife.
So this part comes into the social contract. This is the buy-in phase. So, and we all do it to different degrees. So for you and I know I'm going to speak for you, and you tell me if at any point it's wrong.
Okay. Yes, you're wrong.
Okay.
Waiting for that.
At some point in your development, in your adulthood, where you started paying attention to news, you would first just read something from what you would assume is a legit newspaper, and that would be like as good of information as any. Like it ought to be trusted.
It's in the news.
It's right.
It's not fake news. This
right,
is real,
because it wasn't
real news.
It wasn't the it wasn't tabloid. It was the Salt Lake Tribune. It was the New York Times. It was a paper. And then more life happened, more life experience, internet and hoaxes and things. Oh, I haven't been paying enough attention about some of the things that I think I know. And now you pay great attention to where your information comes from. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I do,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
And so you have a select crew who, if they say something, you're going to take it at face value because you trust them.
There are a few, well, gosh, I don't even know that I would say that there's anybody who could say something to me and I would just go, yeah, okay.
No.
No.
Your hackles aren't raised because you've already agreed that you trust this person's insight.
Sure.
Okay? So now they say something that is in line with what you think. It's not outrageous. It didn't cause you to question things. This is just a new thing that happened, and it was delivered in a very similar way. So you trust this person?
Initially, yes, but even the people that I trust, I make sure that I check it through multiple sources to see, are they giving me the full information, or is this accurate? Or is this something that the information they're providing me is accurate, but it's only part of the story?
Okay, so even that we're having that I'm getting this much difficulty getting a concurrence out of you. This actually helps my point. You've actually graduated to the next step, to where you're even more incredulous that if you can't go to source material, you're not interested in validating somebody else's argument. You want source material. So that's actually, I think, a step up. Okay. I would think that many religious people who are doing well in their lives, things are falling into places.
They have no overarching
They
concerns,
have no
really,
concern to get even to that point where they want to read the news. They have, let alone get to the point where they want to source their news, and they're way behind wanting to get to source material. So they have not had that experience that taught them that they were wrong, that they ought to do something more thoroughly. They have no reason to. And so their leaders are generally, and have every reason to be, the people that when they say something, say something, I got no reason to say, listen, I'm busy being a full-time dad. I work concrete, 6 days out of 7. I got no time off. And then the 7th day I got church. And then I got 5 kids. And you know what? Do you think when I get home I watch Hannity? I don't know. I watch what How I Met Your Mother or something. Wind Down with the Kids, like something fucking hilarious and stupid.
America's funniest home videos,
right?
Yeah.
And so when the day of rest comes around, somebody says something, they're like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
They haven't yet learned that there are people in their lives not to be trusted.
Yeah, well, and they can't just trust everybody blindly.
Especially on social media.
Well, and it's a shortcut. It's a hack. It's like
DTA, man. Don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
But I mean, especially with the Mormon religion, they're taught not to, or they're taught to trust that person. Like, hey, I am a source. I am correct. Don't go against me because I tell you it's true, and don't doubt me.
I am an authority. Yeah.
Well, that again, at a certain age, you ought to think you could outgrow that. But again, the child never reached a point where they thought they needed to outgrow whether dad knew best or God knows best. They've always been in that role, and their fathers before them.
They need an authoritarian figure.
Exactly. And they've never gotten to a challenge in their life where, oh, I might need to do this on my own. You know why they've never had that is because they've had family and they've had church who've always helped them.
Yeah.
They're not. Oh, anyway, so Dawkins has this big thing about young children listening to their parents. Like that needs to be like built in case of danger. Like so. Yeah. I can only imagine how many babies did or didn't die leading up to like, shh, you know, that's a hard lesson to learn. I don't know, but babies need to listen to their parents. That is a thing that needs to happen.
Yeah.
I saw that episode of MASH. It didn't go well.
that was the most horrible episode.
It wasn't a baby, it was a chicken.
Yeah. Well, in his memory it was a chicken. Then he unlocks that memory and goes, "Oh shit, she smothered the baby that they wouldn't know we were in the bus."
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So they're all alive.
Speaking, that gene that didn't go away with the cavemen. That was something that theoretically happened in the Korean War. That's just yesterday. Mm-hmm. We don't know what's happening tomorrow. Let's stop acting like we do.
Well, so you had sent us in a couple of email messages that I want to revisit here. Because I even mentioned on one of the shows that, yes, I saw your email messages and we'll get to them eventually. And now you're here, so we can talk about them.
I'm here.
So,
so the problem is, I'm happy to talk about it. I guess my brain's just gone on from then. And so now I'm coming back at a second time around. So the things that I might have said then versus now may have changed completely.
Well, and that's fine. You can correct yourself if you like.
Okay.
So the first email that you sent in says, I've been thinking a lot about social contracts being the most charitable to religion, Steelman argument. What is the purpose of religion from a group survival or evolutionary perspective? Is the overall point that religion exists on such a wide cross-culture spectrum the fact that each society needs a social contract? If nothing else, this person is in my tribe and they pull their weight. Is religion just a social contract and the supernatural stuff was just the detritus of the lack of understanding about the reality in which each civilization found themselves? Assuming that this line of thinking is on the right track, what can we learn about or implement for reasonable people to agree with? Is it as simple as implementing a new social contract or buy-in? Anywho, feel free to run with this. Feel free to respond and engage. Feel free to disregard.
I just thought you disregarded that part. Okay, so, I was thinking. So this was just before the election. Yeah. So October 26th, 2018. So it was just before, and I was very frightened that not only were the Democrats not going to win the House back, they were going to lose even more seats. So that was a fear that I had, and I had spent some time thinking about how on earth could we? How have we gotten to this point? How is an obvious bad thing being overlooked? Is it religion? Is it buy-in? Is it ignorance? And I started to think, okay, I have to try to put myself in a Trump supporter's shoes. Not to say that they're a Trump supporter in that they believe in him, but that they are a Republican and they will fight to the end. Like they're hooked up to this horse and that's it. So I'm just trying to think.
I've hitched my wagon to this party and that's it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about how could I steel man any of these arguments? How could I steal just getting to the root cause of how it could have ended up like this? And
where we have like what ended up like where we have Trump as president,
where we have Trump as president, where we have every single Republican that and feel free to name one that hasn't well, let's just say that every single Republican has found a way to justify some bullshit.
Oh, sure. Well, I think people do that on both sides.
Absolutely. But at a point where inside they're wishing they know it's bad. They know it's bad. They wish that they had picked. They wish that they had have stood up a lot sooner. But they didn't know that what was happening.
I think I don't think there's any one simple answer to any of that. I think it's a multitude of things. I think we've seen the dumbing down of the populace for the last few decades, where education is horrifically underfunded, where skepticism is viewed as heresy, basically, where authority is the thing to be trusted, where religion is the thing to be trusted.
What I got down to was that it's that whole notion of good old boys club. Mm-hmm. It's a misnomer. It's a good old community club. It's a country club. It's one. It's not just for the boys. It's for people in a group and their family and friends. It's kind of like we're throwing our lot in together. That whole hitching your wagon up to that. This group of people who is knowingly following the wrong guy. They know it. And yet they still choose to.
But they still won't admit it.
No, it doesn't even matter if they admit it or not. They still choose to. I think that shows how big a deal what you're willing to do or believe for a cause, for your people.
Well, and, several different people refer to it just generically as tribalism, where you've decided these people, I identify with these people. These are my people,
that's it.
And I will do what I can to protect them.
So it's ironic to me that same people that hitch up to Trump are sometimes they're an often overlapping circle with the same people who'd kick out their son or daughter for being gay.
Yeah, the Venn diagram of shitty people, people who voted for Trump, shitty people who would kick out their kid. I mean, those are almost completely overlapping on the Venn diagram.
It's the same as an article we're probably going to get to here sometime tonight about the Muslim guy in Texas who they're trying to kick out of office, and he's a Republican, and the other Republicans, because he doesn't have the right R at the end of his name.
Wait a minute, you don't love Jesus?
Yeah, that's what I'm like. He's got an R there, but not the right R, not the right religion, and he's brown. So in the Republican tribe, you are a white Christian male. That's the Republican tribe.
Well,
this guy
that
comes
is
in,
our identity.
I think. So if I could speak for, I don't know, conservative Republicans, the people who say that they're not racist, but they just
hate brown people and black people,
not
Jews and homosexuals.
Okay, so how about this? If you were to have see a picture of somebody you found attractive, you were to have certain thoughts, right? They're going to come up, they're going to pass through your brain, can't control it. And you just behave as if nothing happened and you go about your business. That's fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Are you trying to go with like people's personal biases against other groups?
So people tend to identify with how they grew up. People tend to identify certain ways. That is just inherent. It just is. It is a fact we have to deal with. When you show predominantly people who are predominantly white in a neighborhood, you show them a picture of a black man. It's is this initially good or bad? It's very often bad. And these aren't all racist people. It's that person's not from around here. So we have to identify that is an actual
stranger danger.
That is an actual feeling that people have.
Yeah.
And the legal things is that some of the right, they want to be able to pick their communities. That is their fundamental thing. And until we can iron out how to legally say, like, listen, this is the community. People want to live where they want to live. And you know who you are.
Yeah.
And the thing is that can that not be any group? And can that not be several neighborhoods with it? Like New York City has, Chinatown, Little Italy, the Greek,
all the boroughs.
They've got all the different areas for all the different people, but it's all New York. And, they can come together as well as any group, but they know where they're comfortable.
Yeah.
People self-select.
Or if you come from the wrong area.
If you don't use the right language on how you self-select, how you do the things that you like with the people you like, with the people you know. If you don't say that the right way, it's going to sound prejudice. And there's...
it doesn't just sound
or it is.
I mean, it is a prejudice.
Well, it is and it isn't. So what is the natural part where the instinct says, this is somebody I know, so I feel good, and there's somebody I don't know, so I feel bad? Like how do you can't legislate that, but we all know.
Hang on just 1 second. Okay. I need to deal with a tiny dog.
Sure.
Hang on.
Hi, this is Dr. Hector Garcia, author of Alpha God, and you are listening to Godless Rebelution.
I blame Tribulation Trump because he's a demon.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you!
Okay, tiny dog situation dealt with.
Okay.
She's a little fucking escape artist, man.
Was it Sophie?
She just wants to come and bark outside the door for some reason. Anyway.
So anyway, like, we should know that we have these built into our DNA. They're just there, and we shouldn't pretend like they're not there. We shouldn't pretend to not know the things that we know. So we know that
recognizing your biases.
Exactly. If we know that there are pre-built, like built-in biases, why don't we use that information? And okay, so listen, these bunch of assholes over here, they want to do their own thing. Does anybody want to fight about this?
What?
No.
I get what you're saying.
You just ask. Like, so if somebody wants to have their own group, we should ask the society. Like, does anybody care? Like, should we fight? These assholes want to be alone. Should we just let them? At what point what?
I mean, that sounds like what Richard Spencer was trying to say, saying, hey, we don't hate black people. Yeah. We'll just give all the black people these states. They can live there, and all the white people can live here.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying everybody stays right where they're at right now. Everybody is where they are. And then some asshole says, hey, I just bought 30 acres in Montana. Do you white people want to join me? Can we just say, fine, man.
A guy did that.
You want.
Well, I think that happens. I mean,
it happened.
Yeah.
Why?
What do you mean it happened?
There was they did a whole documentary on the guy. The guy moved in to this small town in Montana. Was it Montana or South Dakota?
Or Idaho?
No, it wasn't Idaho.
One of those South Canadian states.
He started buying the houses up, the abandoned homes, and fixing them up.
Yeah.
But the thing was, he was recruiting white supremacists to move to that town and move into the homes.
Okay, so that's all very shitty.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is let the groups self-select. So if somebody plants a flag in a state and says, hey, I want to get people like me in this area. So if you'd like to move to this area, I'll, move around where I'm at and you'll be number 2. And then slowly but surely, people work themselves out into whatever groups they want to be in.
Okay. Are you saying that doesn't happen now?
No, I am saying that Republicans are made to feel bad for feeling, so they know that they want to be next to like the people that they grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want strangers moving to town, and they feel like they should feel bad for feeling that way.
Well, it's like people here in Utah.
I think they're saying that I don't feel bad for feeling this way, and you people who are telling me that I should feel bad are just fucking wrong.
Well, it's like, how many times have you heard someone here in Utah complain all Utah's problems on all those liberals from California fucking moving here?
Yeah.
I think that is nationwide. Californians are taking over everywhere.
But they're not the cause of all your problems.
There's not a group that I haven't been in that hasn't complained about Californians taking over.
Goddamn Californians! Their real estate prices went way up, and then they sell their houses and move somewhere else.
Yeah.
And
but you're talking about like people's prejudices, and I remember a few. It had been about 3-4 years ago. There was Discovery Channel was doing this whole series, and there was ones on like, is it physically possible for a human to live forever? Like, this is how, like, new technology that's coming out for these different things. And they did one whole show all on prejudice, saying, are people prejudiced? Does it cross lines? Whatever. And for one of their tests they did with people,
everybody's a little bit racist.
They are, but this was the weird thing they found out when they were doing the test. So everyone, there was actual law enforcement and there were regular civilians. They had equal members of each race come in and do the test. But on the screen, it was either a white man or a black man. So you were given one of two things would happen. The person, you would yell at the screen, be the video. The guy would turn around. He would have a gun or you want to have a gun. And you had to make the decision, is he a bad guy or a good guy? And you shoot. More often than not, they would shoot the black guy way faster than they would shoot the white guy with or without the gun.
And if I remember correctly, that was even black people who were participating.
Even the black people that were participating were shooting the black man that was unarmed over the white man that was unarmed. Or when they were armed, if they both had a gun, they would take longer to shoot the white man than they would to shoot the black man.
Yeah.
And they're kind of showing like even people of the black community have a little bit of prejudice against black people to act quicker.
And the thing that will determine is at what age they hit where they could recognize like skin color, like their, whatever they're around.
You're different.
After a certain age, you can bring up a kid of any color in any other group, and because they don't necessarily see themselves, like they're going to identify just as well with that white figure or the black figure, respectively. So that it's not that all races are always prejudiced against the black figure. It's that if you are brought up in a certain way, you're more likely to favor one or the other.
Yeah, but even the people in the test didn't even know that they were doing that. They figured they were treating both the subjects on the screen equally. Mm-hmm. But when they show the test of showing, hey, this is how long it took you to draw your gun on the black man versus drawing your gun and actually firing it. And it was cops and civilians that never don't do this.
That test doesn't tell you much. So if
I guess it just shows the action.
No, hang on. So I am, let's say I'm in a defensive place, or maybe I'm a cop, and they say shoot the next or the next red car. Well, you're gonna know that car. Well, Dan won't, but you're going to know that car is red sooner than between certain colors. Red is more easily to stand out than white.
Yeah.
So red is more, if it's a blue car coming, it's not red. So just because it's basically the equivalent of having longer to discern that information. the black guy is not in my neighborhood. I live in like a pretty much white neighborhood. I know that's not normal.
But I mean, this even happens.
Your brain just does that.
Not just in that test, but real world. Like the one that pops in my head is Castillo, or I can't think I'm pronouncing his name right. The black man that had a concealed Castillo. Yeah, black guy had a concealed weapons permit. He had the weapon with him in the car. Cop comes up to the car and says, "Do you have a weapon?" He says, "Yes, I have a concealed weapons permit." And then the cop says, "Okay, can I see your ID?" He reaches for the wallet. The cop shoots and kills him.
Yeah, I don't.
But you see that happen
necessarily as the same issue as what we're talking about.
Well, I'm saying with the reaction time, but then I've seen you see footage of a white guy sitting there telling the cop, "I'm going to fucking kill you," and they don't shoot.
That's probably not every cop.
I'm not saying it's every cop, but it's even in real life, it seems they're more quick to shoot someone of race than.
I think maybe. I think that all of these shootings that have been made public, all or most have been pretty horrific.
Yeah.
And I think they ought to have been made public. I don't think that is the, by and large, interaction with the police.
Oh, of course not. I mean, they have, millions of interactions with people every
and we do only usually see the worst of the interactions that come out.
And it needs to be looked at. I don't know how, but I don't see how pretending to not know that people react differently to people of different colors in a split second, to pretend to not know that is dumb. So we ought to act like we know that and then come up with a new plan, because whatever's going on isn't working.
Well, yeah, but you can't really get rid of your biases.
No,
but you can, like you said, you can recognize your biases and you can train yourself to act differently in those situations.
Well, to just recognize that you may have biases, and
we all do,
and check yourself.
Well, what's
when you?
Okay, yeah. It is my personal opinion that the current state that police officers reside in, not physical state, but the place in society where we put police officers, there will not be a big change. In fact, it might just get worse. We place way too many burdens on police, which they ought not be involved in. They have too many interactions where they have a weapon, where the situation does not warrant having a weapon. I think the current place where police are, we need to back the fuck up and have less interactive police, like trying to meddle, trying to investigate, like preemptively investigate. If that were, like
I get where you're going.
I think we need to move to a place where armed police officers only show up when the need for force has...
When there's an armed conflict happening, yeah.
But I think that's a lot... I mean, that's easier to do in Europe.
What I'm saying is it's easier to do in situations that we haven't been following up till now. Like, we have put ourselves into this sticky spot. And it's not going to be easy. And in fact, if we don't fundamentally change policing, I do not see the police effort getting any better.
Yeah, I think there are several different efforts underway in various locations from police chiefs across the nation, where they're trying to focus more on de-escalation than incarceration and apprehension, right? Where they're trying to recognize that, hey, rather than showing up and instigating more, people more toward a violent reaction or more toward a more contentious situation, I can have training in how to de-escalate the situation, right? Rather than showing up and saying, "Hey man, you need to calm the fuck down, go the fuck away, sit down, relax, do whatever." Where you can show up as a voice of calm and reason, and try to deal with people.
That time has passed. The time with which a cop was a figure of sanity.
I'm saying that there are various police forces across the nation who are trying to make that more of a focus.
The people who need de-escalation are the people who the sight of a cop is going to frustrate. And period.
I wouldn't say period. That's the whole point of de-escalation, is to make it so that you understand that when a police president is inserted into this situation, that the officer can show up and try to de-escalate the situation rather than making it worse by their appearing there.
Is for people who are bound to escalate, who need de-escalating, the presence of a cop is the first problem. Okay, so if it's just de-escalation that we need because this person is
not just that. You keep looking for simple answers, and I don't think it's a simple answer that is going to fix the situation.
Like, okay, what needs de-escalation? An unarmed man who's just freaking the fuck out because he ain't on his meds? Like, does that need de-escalate? Does that need an armed police officer?
Well, I think anytime you can de-escalate something is better than escalating.
Every time our police officers come up to a guy who's unarmed, who's flipping the fuck out because he's not on his meds, and he's had a rough life, and he's living on the streets or in and out of the streets, and anytime that guy sees the cop, is escalating that thing. So now,
not every time.
If the guy needs de-escalation.
That's way too broad a brush. It's not
a broad brush. This is. I just painted the brush. I just said. I just painted the picture. I just said this guy. Yeah. I just gave you the specifics of this guy.
Yeah.
I didn't say this one dude
but you said
who was minding
this
one dude who was minding his business walking down. No, I said, hey, this guy is flipping the fuck out because he hasn't been on his medicine.
Mm.
He's unarmed.
Mm.
The present, you show up with an armed cop, it's going to get worse.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here real quick.
Things, sure.
I'm going to jump in here real quick because I agree with both of you. And here's why. I agree with Kevin because with the current state of the way people are been treated by cops sometimes, they probably will overreact. They will overreact.
Of that in the
but I agree
they're already
with you.
Paranoid.
Yeah, they're already paranoid because of the current state of what's going on and seeing that. But then I also agree with Dan that this training needs to happen, but it's going to take time for the current state of what people view cops as to evolve.
That's what I said, is we need to pull cops out of this line of work with carrying the weapons all the time. And let's have them just walk around, know everybody in their neighborhood that they patrol.
Well, yeah, and have them be regular members of the communities in which they serve.
Come to the barbecue.
Yeah. Yeah,
hey, you look like us.
Yeah. Well, the Ogden City Police, they do Cops and Coffee. I think it's Saturday mornings. They go to Grounds for Coffee on 25th Street, and they advertise like, come sit down, have coffee with a few cops, talk, chat. What's going on? What are you guys' concern in the neighborhood?
I'm sorry. I love that idea of interaction. You're not a gun guy, Dan. You cannot tell me that anytime somebody walks into a room with a gun on his hip, and inevitably the motherfucker's hand is going to cross it every couple of seconds. It's not a better situation that was just happening.
Well,
it's a worse situation, and you feel it.
But it's a different person also,
yeah,
and they have a different role in society.
And that guy can be freed of a lot of suspicions. And like that guy's given the benefit of the doubt in every situation. And we're supposed to, the cop holding the gun, we're supposed to feel great about it.
Not all. Well, you just said that. Well, you're contradicting yourself now because you said that as soon as a cop shows up with a gun, that it's going to escalate. But now you're saying just the opposite.
No, I am saying that
to the rest.
If I was confusing, that's because I'm an idiot. No, I think that our police officers should not carry weapons most times.
No, I totally agree with you. I think having a weapon does tend to escalate things.
And so that's what I'm saying. But I mean, the world that we live in, cops carry weapons. So the world that we live in, cops are always escalating before they can ever de-escalate anything. They could be that thing that tips the scale. They are amping it up just by showing up because we know cops have guns.
Now, I don't think we can get rid of cops with guns, though.
I don't think we should get rid of them. Well, I think we should place them in their barracks or in their patrol spot. And then if something happens, say, hey, cops, come deal with the thing that's happening. This is what you're here for.
Well, so the reason why I say that is I'm saying on their side, because until we make it so that citizens can't walk around with guns all willy-nilly all over the fucking place,
we have to.
You have to have cops armed, because that cop doesn't know if he's walking up to a car, if that guy's going to pop out the window and start shooting at him.
The world we live in, we can't do those things because cops have to carry guns, right?
And that's why I said in Europe, because in Europe, most cops don't carry a gun. They got armed cops and unarmed.
And so, no, not all of Europe. Some of Europe.
Yeah, some.
You're not going to see an unarmed French cop.
Well, they got their straight up fucking bullpup rifles.
Europe's diverse. Cops, like Britain is known for having the bobbies with the club.
Yeah.
And that's...
You gotta get closer to your microphone.
Sorry. Yeah.
But they also have their armed division. So if there's a situation comes up where we need firepower,
which I think we should do that,
call those guys out. Yeah. We kind of have them. They're called SWAT teams. They just come with bigger guns.
Well, yeah, I think.
But it's
so it sounds to me, and please forgive me and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're trying to come up with an easy and simple solution for these things, and I don't think there is an easier simple solution.
I'm saying we need to stop worrying about them until we're ready to make a solution. Until we're ready to do the hard thing, just shut up.
Well, but that's what we've been doing all along, right?
It's basically, and it's getting us nowhere, and it's only dividing us as a country.
Well, right, but you're saying that we should just not worry about these kinds of things, but that's what we have been doing, and that hasn't resulted in any change, in any positive change, in any effective, positive, real change.
It's time
that we've just been ignoring these problems.
It's time to put up or shut up.
And so I think we do need to make some actual, real, positive changes in this.
What do you think we do?
Well, I think the first thing we do is say that, every Tom, Dick, and Harry off the street can't walk into a fucking gun place, into a gun dealer or a gun shop and purchase any kind of weapon that they want right away. I think we need universal background checks. I think we need to stop private sales.
Let's stop that. Let's stop where that is. Who ought to be able to possess a firearm?
I think if you go through a thorough background check and you are imposed with a mandatory waiting time, like who needs a gun today? I need a gun today. So right fucking now.
Okay, so
I think competency goes a long way. And also, it's like I said last week.
It should be like getting a driver's license. You've got to go through training. You've got to go through testing. You've got to go through recertification. You have to have insurance for it.
It's not that simple. It is not that simple.
That's not at all simple, I don't think.
Well, no. What I'm saying is the person who qualifies for a gun today isn't going to be that person necessarily in the future.
Correct.
So what does this person need the gun for? Just because he can have it? Like, is that what we're doing?
Well, no, correct. Maybe I'm misunderstanding your question. Are you saying what do we do with all of the people who already have the guns?
Or saying you have to have a justifiable reason to
possess? Your critique, or you're saying we can't have every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I'm saying, well, okay, so who can? And how do we enforce the thing that you just said was, well, you have to go through these things. Okay. And so what is the ongoing thing? What happens to the guy who up until the thing that happened, he was just fine?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't understand the question.
Well, I think
that
that's
happens everywhere, right? Like everything is great and fine until it isn't.
Okay.
So what? Maybe I don't understand the question.
Everybody to be able to have a gun just because they can, or do we want to have
me personally? No,
special carved out.
I don't think everybody should have one just because they can.
So okay. I'm an American. I own guns. I served in the military. I believe that now that because guns exist, certain people ought to have guns. I wish that others didn't. I also think that no, not every American deserves to have a weapon. No. It needs to be very specific. We live in a world where we're too close. It's too weird. Too many people could get your gun, and you're not good enough with it, and you take it off in the shitter, and it shoots you in the leg, or your toddler grabs it, or your mentally unstable child gets into your guns and then shoots up a school. why? I don't think that if we're that worried about guns, that it ought to be widely accessible.
No, I think there are plenty of people who are very worried about guns, but there aren't people in positions of power who are able to do something about the gun control problem or lack of gun control issue that we have here in the United States.
We might, because I heard the NRA keeps losing money now.
Yeah. Well, because they don't have a black guy in office that they can point to and say that he's going to come for your guns and he's going to take them away.
And the NRA is the whole reason why we got the gun issue we have nowadays.
So reasonably, what is a reasonable gun to have? Or is it never reasonable?
I don't understand the question.
Well, if guns exist, we're going to have some amount of casualty. Cars exist, we're going to have some amount of casualty.
Even though you go through training, you're licensed.
What is the point at which the legislation is too strict or too onerous to actually get the death toll any lower? Like, what is our sweet spot for gun deaths?
I don't know.
Well, hopefully the sweet spot is 0.
I don't understand what you're asking.
I'm saying that we cannot have Americans owning guns legally without accepting that some of them are going to die from guns.
Okay.
So what is the acceptable number?
There is no acceptable number.
So then,
that's a stupid fucking question, man.
It's not a stupid fucking question. It's an actuarial. It's an actuarial. This is what
5. 5 is the perfect fucking number, Kevin. That's a stupid fucking question.
But Dan, what I'm saying is, if the acceptable number is 0, then we have to say guns are not. We can't have them.
No, that's a stupid fucking premise. It's stupid. You can't say that, we're going to only say that 0 deaths are the only acceptable thing, and anything other than that, well, then we need to create more laws. We need to do more things. That's fucking stupid.
What is reasonable? Gun deaths by design, by life improving. Gun deaths specifically in the United States have, well, maybe not gun. That's a hard one. I think quality of life has gone up. Number of deaths for random shit has gone down. Crime has gone down.
You're all over the place.
I am. Well, I don't even know what's in this. What I'm saying is the if it weren't guns, it'd be something else. So what are we doing? I don't think that everybody needs to own a gun, so let's get rid of them.
No, I think you're looking for black and white answers to things that are very, very complicated.
Or we do nothing.
There is no. Well, this number is the acceptable number of deaths, and anything above that, then we're like, that's just the whole premise of that is just fucking flawed.
You need to establish a direction and what you're willing to do.
Well, the direction is reduction of harm, right? So what can we do to reduce harm to our fellow citizens? So the things that we can do are pass legislation that say that you need to have universal background checks, you need to have insurance, you need to have a license, you need to go in for certification, you have to have training.
Somebody did all that stuff and then shot their wife.
Okay.
So that's not a guarantee, right?
But
of course it's not a fucking guarantee. So that's why I'm saying you're thinking black and white.
I'm not thinking black and white.
It doesn't fucking work
People
that way.
Aren't just buying guns to go shoot up shit.
Well, Las Vegas
Some people are.
And it's black market shit.
No, the guy in Las Vegas didn't buy his guns on the black market.
He was crazy though.
Yeah.
I could probably tell you
everything is off the black market except for the things where it's not. That's like, dude. You're all over the place and looking for black and white solutions to things.
Dan.
Well, I went with the black market thing last week.
Look at how upset you're getting over this, and we agree that guns are bad.
I don't know that we agree because I can't follow what you're saying here.
Well, remember
what I'm saying is if we, it's like the wall. The wall is a terrible solution to this problem that's not even the problem. It's a manufactured problem.
Yeah.
We're probably at the lowest number of deaths by gun that we could have and still have guns.
Are we, though?
I think so.
What are you basing that on?
Because crime's getting less. Muggings are less.
Okay.
Things are better. People with guns are the crazy people.
Crime rates are
most gun deaths
reduced overall.
A lot of the gun deaths are spouses, right? So at one point they got that gun and they were sane. And then they found out something their spouse did, and then for whatever amount of time they weren't sane and they had access to a gun. So sanity is fluid. Sanity is not 100%. So if you're going to give somebody a gun, you're and think that they're going to be 100% sane because they took a test one time, you're up in the night.
I'm not saying one time.
I'm saying that we're at the lowest possible point, not possible, but I mean we're at the sweet spot. It's going to hover around here.
Sweet spot?
Yeah.
How?
And still,
what are you
the
basing
only
that on?
way we can get rid of that is to have no guns.
No, I'm saying, what are you basing that on? You're saying we're in the sweet spot.
Because crime is getting lower.
Okay.
And most of the gun deaths aren't shooting sprees. Most of the gun deaths are spousal kind of shit, home entry kind of shit, like things that people have guns for.
Yeah.
You have a gun to defend your family or whatever, and then if you go crazy, you kill yourself or your spouse. That's the rule.
Or both.
Well, there was a shooting just a few blocks away from here 2 days ago at a mall.
Yeah, we had helicopters
those happen
circling
too.
the house.
Yeah.
And Tracy was worried that should I lock all the doors?
Right.
Should we keep all of our lights in the yard on? And I'm like, no, come on, man. You're freaking out over this.
So I think my thought has always been accountability on this issue. Because like I said last week, when Trump was going off about the illegal immigrant who shot and killed that woman, the cop. I think it was a cop. Was it an illegal immigrant that shot the cop? He was going off about the illegal immigrants that are killing out everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh,
you gotta always blame it on the other. Yeah.
How did that illegal immigrant get a firearm when he doesn't have any of the paperwork or the ability to go and buy one at a store? Oh yeah, he bought one through a private fucking sale. Because during a private sale, you don't have to do shit. You don't have to do a background check. You don't have to do anything. And that's where I go
waiting period.
No waiting.
Yeah.
But that's where I go with accountability. If you have that gun registered and you are forced, if you want to sell that gun, you have to go to an FF or a FFL dealer, Federal Firearms License dealer.
Go to your local
sheriffs.
Or
go to
whatever.
Go to any place that can do
Post
a
office.
legit background check.
No, don't do that. Don't
go to a
that was
post
a
office.
joke. Edit that out.
But you go anywhere that can do a legit background check that your state makes required to actually sell a firearm, to transfer that firearm from your name to that person's name. So at that point, you did everything you legally had to do to transfer that gun to that person. You did all the right stuff.
Yep.
You went through the background check. You made sure the guy was licensed to have a firearm. Yep. Okay, it's all good to go.
Yes.
Now the onus is off of you if that guy does something wrong with the firearm. But if I sell you a gun and you do something wrong with it,
it
should be back on me.
I like that to be a rule. And I think that should be a rule. I think it's a simple rule. I am definitely saying do it. Do it. That's a good rule to have.
It's a small step to try to get guns out of bad people's hands.
It saves one guy from thinking that, well, I did everything right. I sold it. And that's a good thing to have. I still think that guy who purchased the gun legally can then do bad things with that gun.
100% he can.
Right.
But
will. Some of them will.
Yeah.
But it's completely
Absolutely.
Some will.
Yeah. But it's completely different than the guy that knows he can't buy a gun at a store.
Sure.
That knows he can't buy one legally.
Sure.
So he goes the guy selling a gun on the internet and goes, "Hey buddy, can I come buy your gun?"
Sure.
Yeah, here's $300. Yeah, the gun's mine.
I'm gonna go. Sure.
Yeah, okay. That's definitely something.
But
that's not nothing.
But where I put the responsibility on a thing is, if that guy sold that gun to that person, he should now be partially responsible for that shooting.
Who's the guy that can't have the gun? Okay, so most, look at our crime statistics, right? Most of these guys can't have guns from drugs,
federal, any felony, spousal
felony
abuse,
drug stuff. Now, spousal abuse stuff only goes back into that's just an easier way to kill your spouse that I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
But that's going to happen. The introduction of guns does not help the spouse abuse. That's not a plus.
Yeah.
No, but if they're really that crazy and determined, they'll grab a knife, they'll grab a hammer, at that point the gun is inconsequential in that situation. It's just the quickest and easiest.
Yeah, the most effective.
So what I'm saying is, if we determine that the majority of gun deaths, where they come from, can we use that information? So if the majority of gun deaths is like spousal stuff, killing yourself, if that's the metric, even though we have a lot of these shootings what's going to stop those shootings? Is it the gun deaths? Is it shootings? Is it like the mass shootings? Either way, the potential for them happening only exists when we allow guns.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why Matt is like, no, fuck it. Just nobody can have guns. Everybody, we're taking them all away. We're fucking melting them down. That's it. Nobody, your toys are being fucking revoked.
And even taking guns away is not going to solve mass murder. People are still going to find ways to commit mass murder.
Right.
We're just taking away possibly the most efficient and effective way.
Okay, so
the
efficient
easiest
and effective is one way to look at it. And to be a bit macabre, but like morbid. Sometimes that's an easier death than what somebody might do otherways.
With a car,
sure, it could be a lot more torturous, and lengthy, and painful, and
it's not an awesome
way to look at things.
Yeah, I mean, like,
well, and if the alternative
I could have given, what, I had the smallpox vaccine, and if the disease it's got to be worse. I think I'd rather be shot than have smallpox.
Yeah,
and die from that.
Yeah. But here's the thing with a car. If someone wants to do something with a car, it's way easier to jump out of the way of that car than it is a bullet.
Well, and again, it seems like you're thinking very, very much in black and white terms. Like,
I got to fix that. I don't know what I'm saying, because I think I'm looking at it from all around.
Well, because you said that, I would much rather die from smallpox than a gunshot, but you don't necessarily have to die from either one.
Sure.
A gunshot would be much more effective and efficient in making sure that you're dead.
So, I'm saying
but smallpox, we have cures for, right? We can fix these things. So if you're shot, or if you're stabbed or you're beaten with a hammer,
with the pain level.
Wait just a minute.
Okay, sorry.
So if you're shot, or you're, let's say you're not shot, you're beaten with a hammer, a baseball bat, you're stabbed, you're whatever. Those are much more treatable things than if you're shot in the head with a fucking gun, right?
Oh, depending, yeah.
So you're saying you would much rather be shot with a gun than have smallpox, but those aren't your only two options. Like, you can get smallpox and be treated and survive and live and have a full and happy life still.
Perhaps. What I was saying was that if I think I jumped too many levels.
I'm not keeping up, maybe.
No, I'm not giving you all the information.
I do that sometimes too. A lot of it stays in here. Yeah. A lot of it stays in here, and just a tiny bit comes out. Everybody's like, I don't get what you're saying.
What the fuck are you talking
about? It's like, let me catch you up on the story in my head.
Okay. What was the last thing I said?
Are you trying to go more along the lines of you would rather be shot than die a long, painful death?
No, what I'm saying is there's an argument that well, if so-and-so doesn't have a gun, they'd have killed him with something else.
Right.
And I'm saying, man, sometimes I'd rather be killed with the gun than the something else.
Well, but
I would rather have...
But the something else may not have resulted in your death.
No,
where the gun more assuredly will result in your death.
We also have to come back with I'm dealing with depression and suicidal ideation. So sometimes the way out for me is an option.
Or we have the most efficient and effective way to do it.
Yeah. So I might not look at the value of living through the smallpox disease the same way as somebody else.
Well, there's also the 12 or 13-year-old girl in Logan in northern Utah last year that was shot in the head. She lived.
Don't
you remember that one?
I'm unfamiliar with the story.
One of the kids from her school took her out there to rob her of like $20. Took the money from her, shot her in the back of the head, and they left her in a ditch thinking she was dead.
It was like a 22?
Jesus.
Yeah, turns out she wasn't.
Oh, wow.
Someone found her. She was unconscious. She went ahead and life support. They operated on her, and she lived.
22s are terrible for trying to kill somebody.
Yeah.
But so a 22 is what my sister used to try to kill herself.
It won't exit.
So she shot herself in the chest with a 22, and it basically just ricocheted all over internally and fucked up everything.
I never understand that. Okay, we're going to get morbid here for a second.
All right.
Thank you.
A lot of people in the military commit suicide.
Yeah.
We had a guy that put his rifle in his clavicle and shot himself diagonally through his body.
Why?
Did it miss his heart or did it get
it hit his heart, his liver, his lungs. It ripped. It was his M16. just held it in there and
why
through.
Why would you not put it under your chin?
That's the question I ask. Why do people, when they commit suicide
or attempt to
maybe
shoot themselves in the weirdest ways?
Probably like something like that would maybe thoughts for the family.
So they don't blow their face off so they can have an open casket?
That seems like an odd concern if you're going to be killing yourself, right?
It's not.
I mean, the guy was very successful in it because when we got there, we were notified that he was Hispanic. Like, he ain't Hispanic anymore. He's white as a ghost. He had completely bled out.
Oh, wow.
There was not a drop of blood probably left in that guy's body. But it was still the weird thing of people, like you said, like shooting yourself in the heart. It's like, that's got to be fucking painful. You don't die instantly.
Yeah.
It bleeds out, and then...
I don't think that...
they think about it?
That's their motive.
It's probably not the overriding concern. If you've determined that you're going to shoot yourself, it's not necessarily...
Like, which is the least... It's just... People, I guess, commit suicide in odd ways where I'm thinking, don't you just want to end it quick? Which I would think the easiest would be right to the head.
Yeah, I mean, like, even a rifle just under the chin, like
like Pyle did in Gomer Pyle did in Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah,
I don't think that's how it works, guys.
Oh,
that people are actively thinking about what is the most efficient or effective way of doing this. Well, I keep saying efficient and effective. Those are the two.
Yeah,
the two.
No, I just don't think that that's the concerning motivation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's take a break because I need to go use the bathroom.
Okay. We'll bring happier stuff on the other side.
Love it.
Lord, is it so much to ask that you not let us suddenly burst into flame for no apparent reason? I mean, come on. Amen.
This is Matt Dillahunty, and you're listening to the Godless Revolution.
Thank you to everybody who has rated the show on iTunes and Stitcher and are following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And to all our Patreon patrons, you make the show possible.
So Ryan just showed me a picture. We're back, by the way, in case you weren't aware, because we're fucking talking in your ears again right now. I don't know why
did we do that?
That was weird. Anyway, so Ryan showed me a picture during the break of the new Gillette commercial about the is this a best a man can get or whatever, and Gillette put out this video about that and talking about the Me Too movement and this and that, and the commercial or video that they put out has at current tally 188,000 likes and 523,000 dislikes.
Yeah.
I don't like, if you have a problem with that, you're probably part of the problem initially, but then as we read through some of the comments here, it became obvious to me that, it's not just people who are against PC culture who are disliking this video. It's also people on the left. And I see the left eating its own way too fucking often.
And that comes down to a point that I don't know if I was even close to approaching it earlier, but what I wanted to get at was how can the division between left and right be so far? And then I looked within the left itself, and anybody on the right side of the left is nowhere near the left of the left. So the party's so, I don't know, unfit. And I think the idea of somebody going, well, the Republicans will absolutely lay down their reputation for you right up until the bitter end, like right up until the bitter end, or the Democrats will slay you for something you may or may not have said as a jest out of context 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So like, what's the win of the right saying, yeah, I want to hang out with you guys? What's the win? What's the upside?
Yeah, it kills me. There's some personal things in my own life that I've witnessed from various family members or friends where I'm like, do you not see that you're just fucking destroying any chance of the left building any kind of coalition here because you have to be so fucking outraged at every little bit, every tiny little slight that you perceive, even if it wasn't intended as a slight or meant as a slight or in actual real life was any kind of slight at all. Perhaps you've misunderstood what was said, right, or you've taken it out of context, and you're still going to burn this fucking person at the fucking stake because you're so pissed off about this one tiny little thing they said, and until that moment they were your fucking hero. Like, that just, it bothers me so much that I see the left eating its own so often these days that there's no chance in hell that we're going to build any kind of coalition to get rid of the people who are on the alt-right and the fucking Nazis and the super racists and the white nationalists and shit like that, when we can't even decide that, okay, you're a good person. You may have said something that I disagree with a little bit. But instead of just saying, you know, I disagree with you a little bit here, and here's why, it's going to be, I think you're a terrible fucking person now, and I'm going to block you, and I'm going to unfriend you on Facebook. I'm going to do all of these things because I disagree with one tiny little thing that you said one fucking time. Yeah. It fucking kills me.
It's so deep. It runs so deep. And it goes back to that. I think maybe you misunderstood what I said. That whole that phrase, that is so overlooked as to be ridiculous. People do not realize.
Well, and I've stopped even trying to say that. I've instead of putting the onus on them, I try to bring it back on me and say, okay, apparently I'm not communicating this well enough. Yeah. Like, it's not that you've misunderstood me. I haven't communicated this well enough. So that takes some relief and some burden and some pressure off of that person to say that, okay, well, I wasn't wrong. Then you still have done something wrong and you're acknowledging it. And I'm fine with doing that if it gets them to get off their high fucking horse for a moment and realize that I'm just a human being. And you may have misunderstood me, or I may not have been communicating effectively either way. But in order to resolve the situation, I'm going to try to de-escalate this and put it on me and say, well, perhaps I wasn't communicating effectively.
That's fair. When would otherwise rational people refuse to look at the facts? So we know sometimes religion is one of them. Yeah. Sometimes it's just that in group, you know. Mm-hmm. Oh, man, not Louis C.K. Fuck, man.
He was one of the good ones.
Right?
So actually, if anybody was jerking off in front of people in their office, I was going to go with Louis.
Right. So we can say there are weird things that happen that it has no bearing on you. Why do you insist that it's not real? Why do you insist that the thing that is true isn't?
I think the biggest problem is that people are so afraid to say that they were wrong.
I'm not sure if it's that. I think it is.
I really, really do. I think that is one of the biggest problems in our world today is people are afraid to say, you know what? I was wrong.
I think all of this, and you're right, I was wrong is a great place to get. I think what has happened, why are Republicans so insulted by PC culture? Why the only way otherwise reasonable people will be upset at that level is because you have seemingly, or they perceive an insult to their way of life.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're attacking them.
They are inundated with this way of life thing. I think it's largely imagined, but it's not untrue.
But it's also it's the myth of the American values.
Well, in American values is, I think that's I don't think that is a specific enough claim to delve into.
You hear it enough where people will say, well, I just don't want the Mexicans here because they just don't believe in the same American values I do. It's like, well, guess what? I don't believe in the same fucking American values. I don't believe in the same values as you do one bit. No one believes in the same values
you do. You want to outline all of those values for me?
It's an imaginary...
Put them in a spreadsheet so that I can tick the marks.
When I hear someone say they don't believe in American values, what I hear in my head is going, okay, you think American values is loving Jesus, carrying a gun to church on Sunday, and I don't know, fucking your cousin.
Okay, so
right, yeah, it's all of these things that we project onto other people.
Well, but that projection right there was not charitable at all.
No, it wasn't. I was being mean.
But so
more often than not, I think it's accurate.
But even if that is the charitable thing, what would have caused that? Why is that the state?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's overlooked too simply, and I think that's where we're going to find the cause of this big division, and it will have been over something so stupid. Why can't we be like the friendly rivalry? You know, the Chiefs versus the whoever,
and shake hands afterwards.
Yeah, whatever. Hey, good game. I definitely wanted to kick your ass. I did, but you know what? We're all football players. We're all here for the crowd.
Yeah. We're playing a fucking game. Come on. Yeah.
But that's I just hate when people...
I don't know where that ended. I don't know or if it was ever there.
I don't think it was ever there.
I think it was a lie that each generation has to learn that, America was never, ever all like on the side of good.
No.
Ever. It's always had its shitheads.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had some really shitty stuff we've done, which we tend not to like to talk about.
And, you know, if you don't like shitheads, you should be the ones with closed borders.
Oh, speaking of that real quick, did you hear about the crazy Republican lady that, not a politician, but she's someone on social media. I never heard of the person. Apparently, I want to say it was Nancy Pelosi's fence. Jumped the fence and went in there to scream at her to fund the wall.
Oh, man.
At her house.
No.
She jumped the fence to break into her yard to yell at her to fund the wall.
You need to build the wall that is clearly
not going to work because look what I just did.
Effective.
I just jumped your fence, your security fence, into your yard, which is meant to keep people out.
Yeah.
Into your yard to scream at you to fund the wall. Lady, you just showed how a wall is fucking useless.
Not the most effective solution to the problem.
Yeah. I just thought that was funny.
I kept thinking for ways out for Trump, like how he could get out of it without without
going to jail.
Or no,
go to Russia.
I actually
to where he's not going to look like a pussy.
No, that. So I was trying to think of how ways Democrats could outsmart him and like basically
exist.
basically give him
an out.
Say the right things where that money is there if certain criteria is met, but the criteria to be met is impossible. Why not do something like that and say, here it is, people, it's in the bill.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
All they got to do is write a bill for a $5 billion bill for border protection funding. That doesn't include anything about a wall in the fucking writing.
There will be walls.
A wall
is
excluded in the bill.
No. Chancellor Trump has said that we need a fucking wall.
But he also says the Democrats are against border security. So if they all of a sudden give him $5 billion specifically for border security, for police down there, for technology to help and give it to the fucking border patrol so they can up their numbers.
But not
and do
for any kind of barrier.
But not for any kind of wall.
Yeah. I honestly, I think the only way out of this, and I posted this on Facebook, I think earlier this week or at the end of last week, is that he will ultimately have to declare his state of emergency and say that he's just going to procure the funds. You know, he's going to pull funds from other agencies.
From Puerto Rico and California and Texas.
Yeah, that he's going to declare a state of emergency, and that's what he will use to build the wall, and then they'll be able to reopen the government agencies. And then then that will placate his base to say, well, he stood his ground and he did his best and he had to go so far as to declare a national emergency to get this taken care of. And then the Democrats can say, well, yeah, of course we weren't going to give any funding for the wall because it's fucking stupid. And we've been able to reopen it. That way, everybody basically walks away winner, except for all of the government employees who've been working without pay or have been furloughed and they're not being paid.
Then you're also going to get the people that bring up a lawsuit against Trump for that emergency funding,
right?
And
exactly,
that will lose in court.
And he even knows that it will never fucking go through.
No,
he's already started preemptively speaking about that very issue, that he has started saying, well, it's going to be up to the courts to decide. I could do it. I could declare a national emergency. I could get the funding. I could say I'm going to fund the border well, but then it's going to end up in court and it's going to go, and he's even said, and it's going to go to the 9th district, and that's a really liberal court, that they're going to shoot it down. He's already poisoning that fucking well, knowing that is probably his only out. And so that's what him saying that is what really clued me into, well, that's what's going to fucking happen. Yeah. Is that we're gonna drag this out for probably another week.
Well, and
then he's going to declare a national emergency and start, trying to procure funds for that, and then it'll be taken to court. But that way it will placate his base to where he stood his ground and he did his best. He was trying to protect America, but them Democrats don't want the border security, and they want open borders, and they want all the criminals and rapists to come across here, but President Trump stood his ground.
Have you looked at what the labor unions lawsuits against the shutdown, like what have you read?
I know that the National Treasury Employees Union has filed 2 separate lawsuits.
Have you heard whether or not they're getting heard soon?
I heard they weren't going to get
They won't
heard.
gain much traction because part of the problem is that the courts are also being shut down and running out of funding.
The Air Traffic Controllers Union has been their hearing's been expedited.
Oh, really?
So it's happening this week.
I
Awesome.
thought I read that theirs got thrown out too.
Think it was going to be today. It got thrown out?
Yeah, I saw that on the news today that theirs got thrown out.
I was out of town. I didn't see any news. I didn't see any news.
Yeah,
today.
theirs got thrown out because theirs was to stop it so they would get funding, or employees could leave and go back to or go to work another job, so they weren't stuck having to be.
So they could leave to go to work, and that was being thrown out. Or leave to go find other work?
To go find other jobs and to stop it or get money, and the whole thing got thrown out.
This is going to be an interesting thing on whether or not this is akin to indentured servitude.
I see
they're not receiving paychecks.
I see a headline here from NBC News that says, judge denies request to pay air traffic controllers and other federal workers during the shutdown. So let me read this story here. It says, it's hard not to empathize with federal workers, the judge said, but the shutdown is a, quote, political problem that the judiciary cannot get involved in. I thought that was the whole point of the judiciary, was to say what is legal and what is not.
Yeah, to define the chicken scratch.
This says that this is dated today, January 15th. It says that a federal judge in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday denied a request by unions, including for the nation's air traffic controllers, to force the government to pay workers who were continuing on the job during the shutdown. U.S. District Judge Richard Leon said that only Congress can appropriate funds, in granting the requests by the National Air Traffic Controllers Association and another union would cause public chaos. It's hard not to empathize with federal workers during the government shutdown, Leon said. They're not the ones at fault. I don't doubt that there's a real hardship felt. However, he said the shutdown is a, quote, political problem, and the judiciary cannot get involved. Quote, the judiciary is not and cannot be used and cannot be just another source of leverage, he said. It would be profoundly irresponsible. Oh, hang on. Like forcing people to work for no fucking pay, not doing your job in Congress?
Let me say
That's
something.
The fucking irresponsible bit?
Let me say something.
Yeah.
So I had been an air traffic controller for the federal government.
Yes.
And
is there any other kind of air traffic controller?
Yes, there are. There are contract employees.
I thought it was all federal employees.
At one time it was, and then Bush Part 2 came around and meddled.
That wasn't Reagan who broke up the strike?
So that was different.
Okay.
That was a different thing. But yes, Reagan fucked around in a different way.
Okay.
So aside from presidential fuckery, I was an air traffic controller until I told the flight medicine doctor that I was depressed, that I was having a hard time with.
Well, that means you're going to crash planes into each other.
Life's circumstances, and so they quickly said, "Hey, you can't work anymore." And now
that's a huge problem, right? It's stigmatizing.
Now we know that every single motherfucking air traffic controller hasn't gotten a goddamn paycheck, and I don't know. That might be cause for concern.
For some
personal worry.
For some depressing issues.
That might hurt. And that's not a snide thing. I'm just saying I am a result of having said that I had a hard time with stuff that was happening. And they told me I couldn't work. So
yeah, that's so fucked up, man.
Maybe these guys shouldn't be allowed to work.
That's
we should consult with the federal air surgeon.
We've talked a few times on the show about stigmatizing mental health issues. That if you have a mental health issue as a federal employee, it is in your best interest to not seek help for that. That's fucked up. That is seriously fucked up. That rather than getting help for any issues that you may have, like, oh, I have cancer, I should go and get treatment for that. Well, everybody understands, oh, sure, you have cancer. That's a disease. You should go and seek treatment for that. Oh, I have a mental health problem. Oh, my God, you're fucking crazy. I'm going to fire you and keep you out of everybody's way. That's so fucking wrong.
Well, it's a health issue. But it's not just that. It's now there. My problem is now all air traffic controllers' problems somewhat.
Yeah.
They're all stressed.
Yeah.
They're extra stressed. Their life is now harder. And they're not.
But they can't say anything about it.
No, they can't.
They have to fucking lie about it.
They can say things about it.
Not if they want to maintain their position, right?
No, I said I was a little too honest. I was talking about, I don't know, thinking that,
what if I crashed two planes together?
No. No. My work performance was stellar. Not to speak too highly of myself.
Humble brag.
I sometimes would wrestle with the thought of, I don't know, maybe today's the day to not wake up. And I mentioned that, and
I think you said on a previous episode, or maybe it was between segments or whatever, that you were like, oh, fuck, I woke up again today.
Yeah. So I had that issue happening in life.
I guess I'm going to have to deal with the rest of today because I woke up again.
And I, when it came around to my, medical, disclosures, I did all the right things and said all the right things, and I didn't lie. And then I later said, hey, therapy and Prozac helped. And they're like, oh, no, you're done.
Oh.
I'm like, oh.
That's not going to work for you.
Okay,
or maybe it'll work for you, but it's not going to work for us.
Yeah.
It's not you, it's me.
So I'm wondering if any of these guys are going to have a hard time.
Oh, I guarantee it.
Well, yeah, we've already seen, hundreds, if not thousands of TSA agents calling out sick because they don't want to fucking go to work for free. They have bills to pay. Yeah. The whole point of having a fucking job is that you're paid for that job so that you can pay your fucking bills. That's why you are paid in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't, if you wanted to work without pay, you would just be a volunteer, and nobody does that.
Yeah.
Or very few people do that. And they do that for very specific reasons. They don't do it because they want to pay their fucking bills. Like, people work because they get paid to work.
Well,
that's the whole fucking point of working.
That being said, and excuse the pun, but there's some jobs you just don't want to have autopilot.
Yeah.
Air traffic control being one of them. You can't effectively do the job. You can't do the job your best if you're preoccupied with life's little issues.
Yeah.
It just
mortgage.
You can't.
Yeah.
My kids are gonna have to sleep in the car. Huh. Yeah. Or Delta 1527, turn left heading, whatever the fuck, I don't care.
Or do I have enough gas to get home from work today? Because I know I can't fill it up.
There are issues that,
I saw a fucking article talking about people requesting from their employers that they be allowed to sleep in their cars in the parking lot because they can't afford to purchase gas to travel from their fucking home to their place of employment anymore.
I know for air traffic controllers, they can't sleep in their cars in the parking lot.
Whoa.
Some news crew once recorded them, because when you're not working, you know what? Go take a nap.
Yeah.
That was kind of the policy, was like, you're not supposed to sleep on the job. And you're not, because you're not plugged in. You're sitting in the parking lot where we can find you if we need you.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and so that did away with that.
That did away with that. So there's no sleeping in the parking lot for air traffic controllers either.
Fucking, it's the stupidest shit happens that affects everybody else's lives, and it's like, oh no, this wasn't really necessarily a bad thing. We're making sure that this person is able to perform at their best by allowing them a break to go and sleep in their car if they needed to, if they were really tired, rather than having them continue doing the job while they are very, very tired. There are fucking signs on the side of the road here in Utah that say drowsy driving is like drunk driving.
Yeah.
You're not at your best. Don't fucking drive drowsy.
Don't control
But I guess you can control air traffic if you're drowsy.
Yeah.
Why not?
They can, so the worst shift for me was always the turnaround, the early morning day shift into the midnight shift. So you'd come in at, say, 6:30 a.m., work till about 2:30 p.m., have 8 hours off, come back at 10:30 p.m., and then work to 6:30.
That's horseshit.
It's bad. I hate it. Hated it. I haven't done it in a while.
That doesn't allow you 8 hours of sleep time.
No. That's literally 8 hours from clock out to clock back in.
That's fucked up.
Totally legit now.
Yeah.
I mean,
safe.
I've gone on autopilot as a firefighter.
Yeah.
Just doing stuff, being like, what the fuck am I doing?
Oh, yeah.
Huh, I've been up for 30 hours. Okay, let's just keep doing this then. I guess I don't feel anything anymore, but I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
I've gone on autopilot as a coder, but, the people's lives aren't in my hands while I'm doing that.
Well, usually when it's those long, stretched hours, it's my life in my hands that can be dangerous.
Which is a big deal.
It is sometimes. Like, sometimes it's just kind of funny.
Well, and your life is what helps save other lives, so...
I guess.
You just keep paying it forward, man.
Yeah. I try.
That's just all fucky. I want to get to this story that we alluded to earlier about the Texas Republicans. This comes to us from Newsweek. The headline says, Texas Republicans will vote on whether to remove Muslim American from GOP position because of his religion.
Like I said, wrong R.
This from the party who says that they worship the Constitution, which says that there shall be no test.
No religious test.
No religious test to hold office.
Yep. Well, they're in Texas, right?
Uh-huh.
So Texas never ratified in that, so they're going to prompt a constitutional judicial crisis, right? So it'll go to the Supreme Court.
The story says that as the House of Representatives welcomes its first 2 Muslim congresswomen, Texas Republicans will vote on Tuesday over whether to remove Tarrant County Republican Party Vice Chair Shahid Shafi from his seat because he identifies as a Muslim American. The vote comes after some members of the county party put forth a motion to remove Shafi, a Republican trauma surgeon and South Lake City councilman, from his position due to his Islamic beliefs. Dory O'Brien, a precinct chair, expressed fear that Shafi would uphold Islamic law over the U.S. Constitution and that he might be related, quote, to Islamic terror groups.
Okay, so I got to, since we were just talking about this, I got to bring it in. It is in Texas's own constitution. Article 1, Section 4, the Texas Constitution states, no religious test shall ever be required as qualification to any office or public trust in the state, nor shall anyone be excluded from holding office on account of his religious sentiments, provided he acknowledges the existence of a supreme being.
Oh, Jesus. Really? That you have to acknowledge?
So it does exclude atheists.
It's no atheists.
Atheists are excluded.
I knew that Texas had a particular thing.
What if I think that Christopher Hitchens was a supreme being?
Good, you got one.
To myself, like, so better than I am, like a much better orator.
It just said that you must acknowledge a supreme being.
Jesus Christ. Well, that would be so that's not even a better than being, that's a supreme being.
Yeah.
Jesus. We don't think he's suitable as a practicing Muslim to be vice chair because he'd be the representative for all Republicans in Tarrant County, and not all Republicans in Tarrant County think Islam is safe or acceptable in the U.S., in Tarrant County, and in the TCGOP, O'Brien wrote on Facebook. There are big questions surrounding exactly where Dr. Shafi's loyalties lie vis-a-vis Democrat and Republican policies. Another precinct chair.
You can't be Republican, not with that religion.
Another precinct chair, James Scott Trim, wrote that he would vote against Shafi, quote, because I don't believe he shares the ideology of our party platform. Shafi wants to be vice chair because he doesn't believe ideology matters, exclamation point, end quote.
And they believe only Jeebus.
A number of prominent Texas Republicans have spoken out in support of Shafi, including Governor Greg Abbott, quote, religious freedom is at the core of who we are as a nation and state, and attacks on Dr. Shafi because of his faith are contrary to this guiding principle, he wrote in a statement. Tarrant County Republican Party Chairman Darrell Easton told Newsweek that tomorrow's vote is still up in the air, quote, it's who shows up tomorrow, he said. It's a guess. It's not a mandatory meeting, and so many people won't show up. We only have a 25% quorum. There are 270 precinct chairs in the county. Each chair has one vote. Easton, who appointed Shafi, said he'd like to see him stay in his current position and that such calls for his resignation reflect poorly on the Republican Party. I proposed a rule change to incorporate the Republican Party of Texas rules which prohibit discrimination. It did not pass, he said. Shafi, who told Newsweek he didn't want to comment until after the vote, explained to the Washington Post that he's used to being discriminated against because of his faith. This is, unfortunately, not the first time that people or my political opponents have tried to use my religion against me to distract the voters, he said, and unfortunately, I don't think it will be the last either. Texas Republican officials like Senator Ted Cruz, who's growing a sporting beard these days, Land Commissioner George P. Bush, and former House Speaker Joe Strauss have publicly supported Shafi and condemned efforts to remove him because of his religious views. Still, Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR, Communications Director Ibrahim Hooper told Newsweek this week that this sort of discrimination is representative of what's going on with the right wing. The majority of anti-Muslim rhetoric and policy proposals are, quote, coming from the right, he said. We've seen an unfortunate spike in anti-Muslim rhetoric and incidents in the Trump era because he enables people, said Hooper. At some point, the Republicans have to police their own ranks. Will they be okay with somebody being ejected from their party solely on the basis of faith? If they're okay with that, it says something about them. It's un-American and it's unjust. Shafi has rejected the support of CAIR, a Muslim civil rights and advocacy group. Because CAIR has done some heinous stuff in the past.
And anything that says Islamic in it, not everyone, all the Republicans run in fear like they're, planes.
Oh my God, they're going to impose Sharia law here in Texas. That's going to go over like a wet fart.
We need to put the Bible back in schools, not Sharia law.
That dog won't hunt, I'll tell you what, boy. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
No, see, and this is an instance of the right eating itself, which I'm delighted to see. I just hate when the left eats itself, especially when it's over
our tribalism.
Especially when it's over, a lot of the time I see such trivial fucking little things that people are arguing about, and it's like, we agree on most everything. It's, we're arguing about the finer points of this particular thing that we're discussing, and all of a sudden, I'm a Nazi.
Yeah.
I got in an argument earlier today on Facebook with a guy who...
Think of how normal it is, though, because earlier, I know we are on the same voting block.
Yeah.
And earlier you were getting really
I blame that on me.
Trying to understand what it was that I was saying.
I blame it on me. I think
we have a history of thinking the same things. So you were just ready to pounce. I'm like, whoa.
I blame it on me. I'll take responsibility. I think maybe I wasn't understanding what you were trying to...
Which is fair. Which is fair that you did understand me. It's just funny that, dude, I'm on your team and you were, your hackles were up.
Yeah. Clearly I didn't understand what you're trying to say.
If someone said, we're banning religion, I'd march to not have it banned, because it's your right to believe what you want, and it's your right to be wrong, and I'll fight for that right.
Hi, this is Regina Tippett. I'm a licensed professional counselor. You can find me at Secular Therapy Project or rctcounseling.com, and you're listening to The Godless Rebelution.
rejoining the Godless Rebelution podcast now.
But no, I got in an argument earlier today with a guy on Facebook in the Utah Atheists Facebook group because this guy is a Green Party progressive person here in the state of Utah, and on it and the banner image for his Facebook profile. Apparently, he has two of them that I'm blocked on both of his Facebook profiles now. Is a picture of him sitting next to Jill Stein. They're both smiling and rubbing elbows, but like I can't even remember what the fuck he said initially. Oh, it was something about how
anti-vax.
No, about how he was so disappointed in Obama because he was, he continued bombing people and even though he said that he wanted his administration to be transparent, he wanted to prosecute people like Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning. And
well, he did pardon Manning.
Yeah, well, but that he had done all of these things that were not what he had set out to be or had put himself out to be, and was purported to be this great leader who had done all these horrible things and blah blah blah.
Well, that's a fair gripe. What was their point?
Yeah, I honestly don't remember. And if I weren't blocked, I would go back and read the comments.
But that's the things that you were saying were things that could be. They're arguably
they're legitimate
criticisms.
They're legitimate criticisms, but it went on and I can't honestly I can't remember exactly what else he said, but I just so I went and looked at his profile and I saw that he his banner picture is this picture of him sitting with Jill Stein, and I just commented initially and said Jill Stein would have protected us from GMOs and Wi-Fi. and he came back with some snarky remark, and then he and a couple other people started commenting, and he made some shitty fucking commenting replies to people like as uncharitable as you can possibly be, and then it was like, well, I ran for local, I ran for a political seat here. What are you doing? Nothing but trying to tear things down. And then he was just shitting all over people. And and he's like, and people are doing that, and we need something other than this two-party solution, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, well, with these glowing comments that you're making, such as this and that, I just quoted directly what he said. And I said, with glowing comments like this, I'm sure you're going to build your coalition in no time.
Dude, that is exactly why I stopped running for things. Is you get you have these aspirations, like I'm gonna try to do something.
I'm gonna change the world.
And I think people are ready for what that guy's bringing to the table. I don't think.
Well, it was just like I ran as a third party candidate and blah blah blah, and everybody else is just that was his big thing. He mentioned that everybody else are just capitalist bootlickers. That as if we keep licking their boots long enough, maybe we too can achieve whatever. And I was just like, and so I made that initial comment, and then I saw that a bunch of people were arguing with him back and forth, and then I just pulled direct quotes from him and said, oh, well, you're hoping to do this, and then you say things like this, like I'm sure your coalition is going to coalesce any moment now. And he fucking blocked me.
The person like that, I think what they're missing is they think that there's a proven better way, and up to this point, as shitty as the things that United States of America has done and will do in the future, to date, this is as good as we have as humans have done.
Well, there's always
any asshole who thinks that they know what the next best thing to do is, and that's going to change the world. So this Green Party fella, he does not understand that capitalism in a modified, in a controlled capitalism to some degree, we haven't figured out what degree, a controlled capitalism is the best thing we've done for humanity to get along, period. And to say otherwise, you are not looking at reality. You're not living here.
Sounds like Western chauvinism.
We gotta do something else. No, we have fewer murders than we've ever had. We have more educated people than we've ever had.
Better all the time.
This is the best we've ever done ever. We're doing the best right now. Slow your roll. Let's just take a deep breath and say, okay, yeah, we could maybe improve in some places, and let's slowly do that.
Yeah.
Let's try real hard.
You'll get no argument for me there that things have been improving steadily and increasingly. But again, there's always room for improvement. We can always do something better. There's always. I welcome ideas on how to improve.
The
different
left
things.
Who won't accept that this is great. Like, we're doing great.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are doing great. There are still some people who are not at all.
You're right. You're right. There are a lot of people who have had bad circumstances. Fewer now, though.
Sure, for sure, yeah.
Well,
that doesn't mean that we should rest on our laurels and say, well, this is the greatest we've ever done.
Not resting, but not trying to do drastic things to change the direction. If a slow incremental change might be the only change that we can see in the positive direction.
I think it's the only political changes we're ever going to see. Yeah.
Any major shift is not guaranteed to give us the thing that we think we want.
Well, and I think any aspirations of this sweeping change that is going to come in and be this progressive manna from heaven are delusional fantasies, really.
Not at all. Yeah,
sure,
absolutely.
Sure, it would be great, but it's not going to happen because the rest of the country isn't behind you on those things.
It's not
yet.
just the rest of the country,
going
the rest of the world.
I mean, that's the whole bit about, leading a nation of 350 million people is that you don't have everybody behind you, and you have to represent everybody in order to get elected into those offices and hold those seats of power. And so you have to make those changes incrementally. Otherwise, you're going to lose the people who voted for you in the first place, or you're going to drive enough people away from you that they will actively work against you, making those positive changes. And they have to be slow and incremental. Otherwise, you're just never going to accomplish anything.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And
I
think, well, you're in that I agree with you, and we're either right or wrong together.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The left, and I'm more and more not happy being called on the left. I've always liked the idea of, I like center. I like stability. So I vote left for my whole life, but I'm not a registered Democrat. I just don't buy some of the tactics. Like, they don't like. So, name me a Republican vegan. It's just not a thing, right? Okay, so
I'm sure there's loads.
So
Yeah.
I would say a vegan is the height of hubris. Like, humane treatment of animals is important to most people. If they have the decision to harm an animal or not harm an animal, in any given moment, they're likely to not harm an animal if it's their choice. That being said, that's just not life. It's just not the way it works. And it's not the way that 99% of the world works today, nor nearly 100% of the planet has ever worked. And for you to think that veganism is the only way and it's the only thing, and it's so popular that not only are there vegan restaurants that people are catering to vegan, that's such a left problem that's not a problem. It's and the fact that there's such this vegan culture that looks down. It's super weird. And well, and I don't think it ought to happen.
I am all for the better and equal treatment of animals,
absolutely.
Because when a pig is killed cleanly, my bacon tastes better.
No, so one of the things, if you look at behavioral psychology, and I'm absolutely no expert. I get all of my facts from I don't know, like
I'm going to interrupt
Sapolsky.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick here to say that I eat meat, fine, great, whatever. Maybe not great in the eyes of a lot of vegetarians and vegans. What bothers me though is that I can agree with them on so many other things, and we can be progressive liberals together. But because I eat meat,
you're a monster.
I'm a monster. I'm a demon. I'm the devil. I'm just as bad as any Republican out there who wants to throw gays to the Russians and put them in gulags.
Exactly.
And everything. That's why I say I hate seeing the left eat itself.
The world is not caught up to that yet.
Like, if you're a vegan and vegetarian, you shouldn't want to eat your fellow human beings. You don't want to eat your members on the left. You want to help support them. And you can have little disagreements about things like this, and you can work on ways to improve things. You can try to convince people to cut down on their dietary intake of meat and everything, and to supplement it with other things. But to demand that instantly everybody right now stop doing this, that's not how change really happens.
Well, a vegan is just insisting that they are right despite evidence to the contrary.
Well, I'm a carnivore because I don't like hearing the screams and the cries of carrots and cabbage as you rip their roots from the ground and you take them from their mothers. I'm like, you've seen baby carrots? That's a motherless carrot right there. There's a carrot out there without its kids. Them baby carrots. I can't stand to see this, so I will not eat vegetables.
Poor little baby carrot.
There's an interesting theory, and I don't know if Robert Sapolsky put it forward or if somebody else did, or if it's as old as anything. But the idea that humans and plants and humans and animals have all kind of evolved together. So the sheep that have wool, they have that wool no matter what. We need to shave it. So why don't we keep the wool? And to say that because 8,000 years after that animal was bred into existence, you know better. Let's just let them, I guess we got to kill them all now, because if you don't trim their wool, they'll get all nasty and die. So
if we don't kill them, they'll die.
That's exactly. Is that I saw there's a sign outside on Salt Lake Freeway. It says, don't, I'm an animal, not a sweater. Don't dress vegan. And I'm like, we don't kill the sheep. The reason they live, we feed them. The reason that wolves aren't eating them
is because we keep them safe to shear them for their wool.
We work for them, they work for us. That is the way that life works and has worked on this planet since day one.
Well, if they're against people wearing wool, sheep's fur, they must also be against people that donate their hair to members of our society that have cancer, because they're wearing human hair on their head that was taken from someone they had to kill. They had to kill that human to get that hair off their head and put it on that person with cancer.
I think it's just a fundamental misunderstanding. I think people are much more likely to try to call somebody out to gain social points for themselves than to try to be charitable in viewing comments from anybody else. There was a instance recently on my Facebook timeline where this guy came in and started making several shitty comments about me being a federal employee and working for free, and that I'm working for the devil, and so I kind of deserve what I get, was the bottom line, basically. And it's
so he's just crazy.
And well, I was, rather than just saying "fuck you motherfucking asshole," I was like, was that just a really shitty attempt at terrible humor?
I would have just said, clearly you're crazy, man.
That's not a thing that you should say to somebody who's in a difficult situation. I don't know. I think people are just way too quick to not recognize each other as flawed individuals who, we have communication issues. We're all trying to do the best that we can, right? And even people who are Republicans and have horrible ideas about terrible policies that they want to enact, it's like, on the show, we all play this part of, okay, well, yeah, they're the other, and we do this thing, even on this show, right, where we say, oh, they're the other, they're the bad people, they're doing these horrible things. But even those people who are doing what we view as these horrible things, in their own mind, they think they're doing the right thing, right? Yeah. They're trying to do what they think is best. They're just wrong about it.
Absolutely.
And if there were a way that we could speak to those people individually and locally, personally, and say, I think you're probably a good person, but the things you're doing are actively harming your fellow human beings, maybe there would be a way to try to get through to them, but we can't. It's almost impossible to get through to some of these people. And I initially, when I interact with people online who have these opposing views, who have these terrible, in my opinion, views of what they want to see enacted as policy, initially, I try to say, look, you're saying this. Do you recognize that this could cause harm here, 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 and here? And the second that I get feedback from that other person that says, yeah, but I don't fucking care because I don't care about those people, well, then it's, Katie bar the door, all holds are, but like, then I don't fucking care because you obviously don't have any humanistic, compassionate tendencies in you to care enough about other people that I should bother caring one fuck about what you think about anything. And I will let you know that. But I initially start with trying to be charitable in my views of what they're commenting and try to see them as basic, flawed human beings who just may not understand all of the nuances, who don't have all of the information, who may be ignorant about a few facts. But when they say actively, I don't give a fuck about those other people, well, then I don't give a fuck about them.
Sure. But how long did it take you to, how many internet arguments did it take before you realized, hey, maybe I should do this a different way?
A lot.
So
years.
It's going to take a while for everybody to get to that point.
Yeah.
And different levels of access, different levels of interaction.
I've been a giant fucking asshole.
So have I. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
That whole thing about they think they're doing the right thing and they're just wrong. Well, raise your hand. You've been that guy. I've been that guy.
Yeah.
So it's just a different levels of growth.
I think it's being self-aware that you're not always right? And there's always room for improvement. You can always learn something different or new.
So I think
you can always you should always be trying to incorporate other additional information. That's why when that fucking asshole sent us the email about the 5G and its harms and whatever, I spent hours and hours and hours thinking that, well, shit, perhaps I'm wrong about this. I should find out and make sure whether what I currently believe is actually true and accurate.
I had gotten into an argument with a guy yesterday on Facebook, and I used one of your lines.
Oh, yeah? What line was that?
Well, the guy was arguing about the fact that Utah gives tax breaks to film industry for people that come from other states and film here in Utah. And it's like $8 million total for all the films that come here to Utah that are given out.
It's just in a pod, and as
they come in, they get tax credits.
Yeah.
Once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's bullshit. It's just the little man that's gonna have to take and pick up the money and pay this tab and all that kind of stuff. And I said, no, not at all, because it's not a Utah company they're giving this to. These are people coming from out of state. They're going to come here and film, and then they're going to leave. They're going
to fuck off out of here. Yeah.
They're going to fuck off out of here. And he's like, yeah, but then see,
we can either take some of their money or none of it.
Or that's what I said. I said either we can get part of something, or we can get nothing.
Yeah.
And he kept going, yeah, but we still got to pay for us. And I go to him, I said, look, here's 2017. Those people that were attracted by the credit we were giving employed 4,700 people in the state of Utah and brought in $220 million in revenue.
For the $8 million.
For the $8 million that we gave them in tax credits. Yeah. Would you rather have the 4,700 people employed and the $220 million in revenue, or nothing? And he didn't get back to me.
Well, and that's just it. Is the people look at one part of the argument, right? They're not looking at the whole argument. They don't have a holistic view of the full.
So they look at it as a handout.
This is the fundamental thing.
Yeah.
How long were you on the internet and arguing on whatever forum in whatever venue, be it the atheist, Facebook, this, that, and the other? How long before you actually go and read, about logical fallacies and the straw man and like debate tactics and that? Like, when did that happen? How long between first argument on the internet and then
it was a good 3 or 4 years easily.
Okay,
easily.
Okay, so some people are going to take longer to get to that.
Sure, yeah.
Or maybe they just, so I remember when the smartphone came out as we know, iPhone, I guess.
Yeah.
The solid screen touch.
Yeah.
No buttons. What was that, 2010 or so? I didn't get one like that for maybe until 2012.
Yeah.
And I got a secondhand Samsung Galaxy. And, so there's some gap between when I had money. I opted not to buy it until then. There are people who didn't get a phone because they couldn't afford one until, just recently.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going through that same shitty online phase as you did.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
fuck you, man, you don't know me, and I know I stoked arguments just to get a rise out of people, and I know I played devil's advocate when it was beside the point. I just did that. And then at some point I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't think I'm arguing fairly or from a place of honor. Yeah. And then I figured out, oh, maybe I should, follow some protocol and it was, and it's a behavioral thing that takes a while, and it's an entire country of way like crazy different socioeconomic status and upbringing and everything. So their learning rate of how to interact online versus what they do in person versus how, somebody gets online in the South and they finally learn some stereotypes about themselves that they hadn't heard before.
Or they learned they didn't win the war.
They're not happy. Well, and until they got that fucking smartphone, they didn't have the internet, and they might not have known that they didn't win the fucking war. It's not, as sad as that sounds.
I'm sure there are people out there.
It's not far off.
Well, that's why we played the clip here probably a year ago.
Mississippi's flag was like when I don't know if they changed it ever, but it's still the fucking Confederate flag.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they had.
A portion of it, yeah.
They had
the whole thing. Mississippi was the whole thing.
Well, it wasn't just the stars and bars. It was like a portion of it was that, right?
I was thinking it was the whole one. Maybe
or is it the white with the stars and the bars in the corner?
So Mississippi, like the Jefferson Douglas's house or Jefferson Davis's house was right outside the military base.
Yeah, so it wasn't the whole thing. It was where the stars are.
But it's right
flag.
there.
Yeah,
but it's a third of the flag.
Yeah,
there was that guy that I can't remember if we saw it on Vice or there's a news show that were visiting that guy at his house, and he had all the Confederate flags outside of just whole. It was like Christmas for a Confederate soldier.
So these guys who have poor school systems and no money, when do you think they got on the internet?
Yesterday.
When do you think they started learning facts about it is a hard understanding to go from a point of I've been lied to.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a hard place to start from.
The Confederate House guys still believed the lie because when the lady asked him, said, "So you do know that the Confederates lost the Civil War?" And his face just goes, "Huh?" Wait.
I don't think you speaking straight to me right
like,
now.
I don't think you're right.
News lady person, I don't think that you tell me the truth right now. All right. Well, we're over time for the show this evening. Hope you all have enjoyed it. And this has been fun. I like arguing with people
when we largely agree.
I mean, it's nice to have disagreements, with people that I can spend some time trying to work out the issues with them. And I was going to say earlier that, back in the day when I was more antagonistic online and I was much more of an asshole, some of the things that really were educational for me was trying to hold arguments with people and then having them just say, you know what, fuck it, you're not worth my time to try to explain this to you. And they would just disappear. They would block me. They would do whatever. And it's like, well, fuck, I was trying to make a point here, and I thought I was maybe getting through and doing it. But then that realization of, oh, they've just decided I'm not worth their fucking time to even deal with anymore.
Yeah.
And so I get that. And there are a bunch of people out there, I'm sure, that, for one reason or another, think I'm a giant asshole, and I can't fault them for that because I was a giant asshole online, but it was a learning process. And I think that or at least I like to think that I have grown and have matured from that point in time.
That's the difference. You get to, you and many people, regardless of where they come from, when they finally do recognize, oh, I have been doing it wrong, they try to do better.
Yeah.
And
there are some people who don't, who are just like, yeah.
But maybe they never get to that point. So look at Donald Trump. Okay, so this is a guy who's had every advantage ever, and he's done the wrong thing most of the time, and it's always worked, or usually worked, or usually ends up working.
He's always landed on his feet. He was born with a silver spoon up his ass and has had it there
since. There is no reason for him to think that he's wrong. Right. There's no reason for him to cave.
Yeah.
There's no reason for him to think that I'm the asshole here.
Yeah.
Every single fucking thing that's happened to him
throughout his entire life,
he's been a showboat and a braggart and a bullshit guy, and it got him to the top. What makes anybody think that he's going to change?
What motivation would he have to change?
Logically,
everything in his life led him to be president of the United fucking States of America.
Logically, it does not make sense for him to change tact.
Yeah,
it would make no sense. He's like, are you kidding me? I'm the fucking president, and I got this far on my wit.
I'm king of the world right now.
And he wrote the book, Art of the Deal.
Yeah,
come on.
Nothing for him. It doesn't seem like there's any reason for him to change. So if the public doesn't change for him, that's
just it.
Things will be very interesting in the next few years.
Yeah, it's just that people will have to mature and grow beyond that mentality. And I think what I find ultimately disturbing about the entire situation is that the world that I believe existed prior to him holding office isn't at all what is actually happening. Like, him being elected president has exposed the rot within the United States. It's brought all of the cockroaches out of the woodwork into the light. They don't care that you've flipped the light switch on anymore because they have the king cockroach who's going to tell you to fuck off.
Yeah, no, I think you're not right, but you're not wrong. That's one where it takes a personal touch to say how you feel about it. You know, I think that I first lost faith in history books.
I thought you were going to say humanity.
And kind of. I mean, there's an element to that. Yeah. But I joined the military soon after high school, and then spent 4 years there, during which time we did go to Iraq, and I went along, came home, and no real trauma associated with like war stuff there. But we were aware that our presence wasn't like great. And by then there were I wasn't there until 2006. So there were holes to the story. There still hadn't been weapons of mass destruction, and so we're still seeing, I'm seeing a daily, negative effect of us being there. We'll just say, and, for no reason, no good reason, no reason that you'd like to put your life on the line for. And I got out of that, and that sucked, and it was just hard to take. But that was a whole everybody associated with Bush to me was poison and the worst. And then Obama came around, and I worked for the government, and so you see in that rot that has been there forever. Like, it's just like, how old are you when you find the rot? When you find out that the shining city on a hill, or whatever it was, is basically just somebody threw on some lead paint to cover up the shitty holes.
Yeah.
And how old are you when you find that out? And what effect is it going to have on you? And are you at an age where you can cut and run, or do you need to go down with the ship?
It's about the age you realize magic isn't real.
Well, so that's another thing. I kind of self-coined a theory called the Last Santa. I think for the rational human, their last Santa is God. Is the last thing that they believed in as a child, that as an adult, you can't do it. And so anytime there's like something that somebody found out later in life, I'm like, oh, that was their last Santa.
I love that. I think we might title the episode "The Last Santa." Well, thank you very much for coming in tonight, Kevin.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to have you around, man. Let's see what we've got coming up here in the next little while. I can't even think of it. Oh, we're gonna have Tiffany Hudson, president of Atheists of Utah, on here in the near future. I will be speaking at an Atheists of Utah event in February, I believe.
Oh.
Be delivering a talk. And I forgot to put the link to Megan's site in the last episode because I had some technical difficulties. that resulted in me releasing the episode way, way, way later than I wanted to. It was related to having to get a new PC because my old one basically shit the bed, and then getting the settings and everything. And I had spent like 6 fucking hours editing that show and went to save it. And in the meantime, while I'm editing it, I'm moving files around and everything. And
did you move the root files?
Yeah, I did. I didn't delete them, but I moved them, and so they just disappeared from the interface.
Yeah.
And so I was fucked, and I had to go through the whole fucking thing again and redo it. And in the meantime, we had family birthday parties, and it was just, yeah. So my bad. I was trying to do too many things. I was spinning too many plates and couldn't keep them all up in the air at the same time. One of them came crashing down, and that happened to be the last episode. So hopefully this one will get out to everybody much sooner. Yeah, lots of fun stuff planned in the future. But until then, I want to make sure that we thank our Patreon supporters. And you know what that means? That would be, I think you should start, Ryan.
Alan Firth.
New Mania.
Wonder who that is. Christy Kalbach.
Gaytheist.
Larry Wilson.
Stephen Andrus.
Let the meat go, Theffy.
2 skeptical chaps.
Michelle Short.
Vanessa.
Freethinker 215.
Captain Samples. Did I fuck up the order?
Yeah, you did.
I do that all the time.
You
sorry.
did. Utah Outcasts.
Janet Euler.
Marius Kot Budrakowski.
Wesley Aaron.
Andrew Vodopich.
Angelica Pearson.
Jeremy Goodson.
Brandy Hammock.
There's
Hamrick.
There's an R on that one.
Sorry.
Megan Kennedy.
The Fuzz.
Jeff Peterson.
Jesse Pointer.
Savita Kuna.
The Purple Dragon.
And Taylor Grin, whose message to me earlier actually had me laughing out loud. It was very funny. Maybe I'll post that in the Godless Rebelution Facebook community, where you all can go out there and join the Facebook community. Send us emails at godlessrebelution@gmail.com. You can call us and leave us a message at 330-81-REBEL. You can tweet at us at TGR Podcast. Find us all over the place.
Yeah.
And let us know what you think about the show, what we can improve, what you would like to hear in the future. But until next week, crucify Mitch McConnell.
Leave a review and get your gun.
Rate the show 5 times a day towards The Last Santa. Rate the show 5 times a day towards The Last Santa.
That was awesome. I was going to fill in the last bit, but thank you very much. That was very good.
He obviously listens.